Hey everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today's review is in association with JediInsider.com, your #1 news source for everything Star Wars. And for today's review, we're going to be taking a look at Hasbro's brand new Imperial Rapid Fire AT-ACT. So this is their big Star Wars item for the year, and it's hitting shelves just in time for Christmas. You've got the standard Rogue One packaging with this one. You've got the Star Wars Rogue One logo up here in the top corner, and then you've got images of the Death Trooper and some AT-ACTs and TIE Strikers. They're flying in the background. You've got some nice artwork featuring the AT-ACT in a battle. You again got some TIE Strikers flying in the background. And then down here in the corner, it shows the figures that are included with this. So you get 3 different action figures, 3 1/4 inch scale action figures with this one. You get Jyn Erso, the AT-ACT driver, and then the Imperial astromech droid C2B5. Now on the bottom of the box, it just features some other products that are being released. And then on the top, we've got the Star Wars Rogue One logo. On one side, it shows you how the app, the smartphone app that you can download and use to control this thing, and that's the big gimmick for this, is you can have it walk and fire missiles with your smartphone. And then the other side, it shows you some artwork for the 3 characters, or 3 figures that are included. Now this box, it measures about 27 inches in width, and then the height on this box is 15 inches. So definitely this is one that's going to take up some space on the shelf. And then finally on the back of the packaging, we get a brief bio in multiple languages. And I'm a little surprised to see that this is actually supposed to be bigger than a normal AT-AT. I figured it would be smaller since it's something that kind of came before, but it actually says it's larger than an AT-AT, so that's kind of interesting. And then also it shows you images of the toy and how all the features and accessories and everything works, and the figures that are included and such. Alright, so let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the vehicle outside the packaging. Now as you can see, there is some assembly required. Now a couple things to note. This thing does require 4D batteries, and those are not included, so you'll need to have those. You also want to have a smartphone that you can download this special app that you'll need to control this. And then there's also this decal sheet, so we'll have a couple decals that we'll need to apply. Fortunately, they have provided an instruction sheet that shows you how everything fits together. So yeah, most of it's pretty straightforward, so nothing too complicated here. Okay, so let's go on and assemble this. Now, I did go on and apply the decals to this off camera, and that was a little bit of a challenge. Especially for somebody with fat fingers like mine. It's a lot of these are in a spot where it's hard to get your hand in there, especially the one you have to try and apply in the cockpit, which I actually end up losing because I misapplied it, and then I wasn't able to get it off without tearing it, so I kind of lost that decal. But anyway, definitely if you're a stickler for straight decals, you'll probably want to, if you're a younger viewer, you may want to get your parents to help you, and even if you're an older viewer, you may need to get your, something like tweezers or something to apply some of these. Anyway, I'm going to go and assemble this now. It's pretty easy. Oh, the other thing I did is I went on and installed the 4D batteries that are required. So you will need a Phillips head screwdriver. There's 2 screws on the back here, and you just have to unscrew it, and then you just pull this piece out and put the batteries in, and then put it back on. After you put in the batteries, you also have to make sure you turn on the power button, which is located towards the back on the bottom of it. So anyway, basically for assembly now, what you want to do is we got to attach the legs. Now the legs are all basically the same, and basically the only thing you need to be wary of is you want to make sure that you're putting the legs so that the knee joint bends this way, facing with the AT-AT facing forward. You want the legs to bend this way. So, and you really can't, I don't think you can attach it if you try and do it backwards, but that's really the only thing that you want to make sure. So again, you want to make sure that the leg is bending towards the back of the AT-AT on each set. So, and they just snap into place. You've got the little 3 pegs on the leg, and you've got 3 holes on the AT-AT itself, and you just push them in there. And it doesn't matter which one you put on the front and which one you put on the back. and they snap in nice and easy. Now one thing, when you first put them in there, you might notice it may seem like that one leg is shorter or longer than the other, and that's because of the walking mechanism that this has. Basically these pieces move a bit, and I'll show you in a minute, but in fact I'll just go and show you. So there's a button, there are buttons up here on the top, and basically if you don't have like the smartphone app and you want to make it walk, you just hit this back button, the long back button, and that'll make it walk. But if when you first attach the legs, if it seems like one leg is longer than the other, then it may just be because it needs to adjust with its walking. So you can see it just took 2 steps there on its own after I pushed the button. Now besides the legs, you also need to attach the front cannons. So you've got the little holes here off to the side, and this is very similar to the original AT-AT. And you get these little blaster pieces. They have little light bar effects in them, and they just snap on real easy. Okay, so both of them have snapped on there, and then these you can rotate up and down. And they have light up a feature, I believe, when you hit the buttons and fire the cannons. So let me hit the... Yeah, so you can see, I don't know how well you can see it, I'll turn the lights off in a minute, but they light up here, and you get some light up effect through the little light bar as well. So the next thing is the cargo pod, which is a separate piece, and this actually opens up if you want, and you can have figures stand in there, and there's little places to store weapons, or you can close it. And so you can slide this in, and it just slides right in. Don't be careful not to push it all the way through, but it just slides right in and basically fills out the middle portion of the AT-AT. Now if you choose not to have the cargo in there, you can also, there's a cannon that's included, so you get this little cannon piece, and they give you a missile, a red missile, and you can slide this into the little cannon here. It just slides in there, and then you've got holes on either side of this, and so you can install the cannon, and then you can have your figure stand in here and shoot the cannon, and the missile will fire, and you see it fires pretty good. Now, like with all the Star Wars vehicles, the modern ones, this does have Nerf firing action, so you get 4 of these little Nerf firing darts. And I actually think this is kind of cool on this one. So basically what you do is you load them in here in the cockpit. You see this little slot piece, so you just drop the missiles in there, and you can put all 4 in. Like that. And if they get stuck or something, they've given you this little door you can pull out here, and so you can better get to the missiles. But basically, this particular Nerf feature doesn't ruin the look of the AT-AT, so it doesn't bother me like some of the vehicles that we've seen. But anyway, so what you do is you fire this button here on the back once you've loaded the missiles, and it fires. So I definitely think that's pretty cool. They've also, on the midsection, they've given you some storage compartments, so you can open these doors up, and basically you can store, the instructions show that you can store extra Nerf missiles if you have them, but really you can put anything in there that you want, weapons, figure weapons, or what have you, and it'll hold quite a few. And there's also 2 pegs in here, so you can stand additional figures. So you've got that on each side, and then on the main surface here on the inside, you've got, actually, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pegs to stand figures there in that middle section. There's good height here in the midsection to hold your 3 1/4 inch figures, so that's good. And then on the front cockpit, this is basically just a one-seater. So put our driver in here, and he fits in there nicely. So you can see it basically just holds one, and then you can close the top there. And then one other feature that this has, when you don't have this midsection, and this thing has pegs as I mentioned before, so this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this has 12 figure pegs, so you can stand figures around, and you can kind of make this a little battle bunker. You can attach your little cannon here if you want to, the missile firing cannon. And then they've also given you a zip line, so you can put the zip line. You've got 3 holes on the outer flap here, and 1 on this side, and then 2 up on the top. So you can put the cannon or the zip line that they've included in any of these holes, and it just pops in. And then with the zip line, basically what you can do, you can extend out the string and then there's little clips up here, and this thing has got a little there's little holes up here, I should say, and then this thing is a little clip, and so then you just attach it in like that, and then this piece comes down, and you can have your figure hold the little handle, and then basically they'll slide down. And just a note, when you're standing your figures in here, you can lift these flaps up so you have some more headspace, basically more room for your hand to work the figures and everything. And as I mentioned before, this thing has 4 different places where you can store little weapons. They're just little holes here, so you got 2 on each corner of this thing. And again, this is meant to be for weapon storage, so you can stick stormtrooper rifles or what have you in there. Okay, so this thing measures, if you count to the tip of the cannon, this thing measures about just a little bit over 21 inches in width, and then the height on this one is about 18 inches. Here's a comparison with the U-Wing vehicle that Hasbro released. Here's a comparison with the TIE Striker, and you can see the scale is not really very good between these vehicles. Here's a comparison with the more recent Hasbro AT-ST, and here's a comparison with Hasbro's most recent AT-AT release with the AT-ACT. And you can see that the AT-AT definitely, this version of the AT-AT definitely dwarfs the AT-ACT. That's not terribly surprising. This AT-AT was made more for collectors in mind, I think, than kids. And the AT-ACT is definitely made more for the younger kids in mind. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the big feature, which is controlling this thing with your smartphone. So first thing you need to do, if you haven't already, is you need to download Hasbro's Star Wars FX application. And for me, with an Apple iPhone, I just went to the App Store and put in Hasbro Star Wars, and it came right up. So basically, once you've downloaded it to your phone, then you want to just open it up. And then you'll see here one side is action, and that's for like taking pictures with your toys and stuff. We're not going to worry about that. And then this side, it says control, and it's got a picture of the AT-AT. So that's the one you want to push. Now, first thing you'll need to do is you'll need to pair it up with your through Bluetooth with your application, the AT-ACT. So what you want to do is get close to it, and I've already done this, but basically there's a little button back here that basically has the Bluetooth symbol, and you want to push that and be close to this, and it should pair up pretty quickly with your phone. And then once you do that, then you get the option where it just controls, and then there's a director option. And the director option is basically where you can pre-program it, so you just push a button and you can have it walk and fire missiles, or a variety of combinations that you can pre-program into it. But we're going to look at just the regular controller. Now again, you can do all of this with the buttons on the back of the AT-AT, so you don't necessarily need this, but it is kind of a cool feature. So first of all, let's see, you can turn the head, or you can move the head left and right, so that's what these buttons here on the side are. So you see the head, and if you hold it down, then it just moves to the left, or you can do it to the right. Now the head will not move while it's walking, so it'll only move the head when it's in a stationary position. Then you can push this button here, and that just makes a firing sound. So I'm going to turn some of the lights off here so you can get a better look at the lights that this has. So I'm going to push the fire button, and so you can see the cannons up at the front here are lighting up. So that's pretty good. And then you've got a button for the Nerf missiles, so push that one. and you can see one of the Nerf missiles just fired out. And then finally you've got a button here on the side which is for walking. Now unfortunately it'll only walk forward, you can't make it walk backwards, but so if you just hit the button once, it takes 2 steps. If you hold it, then it'll keep walking. Now one thing to note on this is this thing is primarily made to walk through either pushing the button on the back or the application, but it's not really meant for you to pose it and walk it like the original AT-AT. The leg movement, you can turn the leg up here at the top, and it has a little bit of bending movement there at the knee, but that's it. There's no real foot articulation, really none at all. And like I said, it's really meant more for you to move it with the electronics than move it by hand. Now I don't know exactly how much range the remote has, but I'm all the way on the other side of the room and I can still activate it. So it's got a pretty good range overall. So again, I don't know exactly how much range the remote has, but I actually went to a different floor and it's still activated. So again, it's got seems to have a pretty good range. And the only thing I would say is it's too bad they didn't give you some type of camera feature so that you could actually view what the AT-AT is seeing. So if you are far away enough that you don't see the actual AT-AT, you could still direct it. And then the only other thing would be, it would be cool if it could actually walk backwards. But still, I think it's a pretty cool feature and one that kids will enjoy. Okay, and finally we'll take a look at the 3 figures that come with this vehicle. So we get the driver, the AT driver, and this guy looks pretty much like a Scarif Stormtrooper with just a white color armor. So almost looks identical as far as sculpt wise. I assume this is movie accurate, but I don't know. But essentially this is just a Scarif Stormtrooper with white armor. And I do like the white armor. I think it looks good. He's got the red marking on his blast shield, and he's got some markings here in his chest, and then he's got some darker gray colors and black pants. So I like this guy in the look, and I like the more classic Stormtrooper color scheme on him. And then we get Jyn Erso, and I assume this is pretty much the same kind of figure we've seen that was single packed in the line. And you get a blaster, and she does have a working gun holster, and she's got pretty good paint applications for this size of figure. The eyes don't seem to be too bad on the face sculpt. And then finally we get the Imperial astromech droid C2B5, and he looks pretty much like an R2-D2 with black and metallic silver highlights. And you can turn the head on this one, and you can move the legs back and forth. The other 2 figures, they have just the 5 basic points of articulation, so you can turn the head, you can rotate the arms, you can do the legs forward and back, and that's basically it. Okay, so that's my review. So overall, I would say this is a pretty fun toy. Definitely, I think it's made more with the younger kid in mind, with the electronics and the remote access and the Nerf firing features, all of which I think are pretty fun. And the Nerf gun doesn't bother me on this one because it doesn't ruin the look of it and everything. And actually firing those Nerf missiles is pretty fun, especially when you're doing it by remote control. Some things like adding a little camera so you can see it walking and maybe having it walk backwards would have made it even better. But still, I think this is something your kids will enjoy. Now, as an adult collector, I still think you might enjoy this one, but definitely if you're comparing it to the more recent AT-AT that Hasbro did, this one's definitely not as detailed and it's not as big. So you might find it a little lacking in that regard if you're going to compare it. But as I said before, I think this one was made more for the kids in mind, and that AT-AT was made more for the adult collector in mind. So this is starting to hit shelves now. You can actually order it online at GameStop. That's actually the only major retailer that I've seen that has it in stock as of yet, but I expect you'll start seeing it in more and more places like Walmart, Target, and Toys R Us as we get closer to Christmas and the holiday season. We'll have a full image gallery up at JediInsider.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment, let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. Also, if you haven't already, please follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. I'll have links to those in the video description as well. And until next time, I'll catch you later.